Alright, this video is on balancing chemical equations, and we need to balance the equation so that each side of the equation has the same number of atoms of each element. So it has to be equal, has to have the same number because of the law of conservation of matter, which remember states that matter cannot be created or destroyed. So we have to make sure that there's the same amount of matter on both sides of the equation. I just want to point out when you have something written like this 3n2, this number before, this is your coefficient. And this is what you will be changing to balance. So you can change that number to whatever you need to so that the equation is balanced. The small number, however, this is your subscript. And you can never change that. So right here, 3n2, what that looks like is you have an n2 and you have it 3 times. So the number of nitrogen that this is showing is 6, and you can also take your coefficient and multiply it by your subscript, 3 times 2, and that equals 6, which is your number of nitrogen. So there are rules to follow in order to balance your equation. First step is determine the correct formula for all of the reactants and products. Remember, your reactants are the ones on the left-hand side, or the left hand of the arrow, and your products are on the right side. Step 2, make a T-chart under the equation listing all of the elements involved, and I'll show you what that looks like. Step 3, adjust the elements one at a time by using the coefficients. So remember, we are using the big number in front. You do not change the subscripts. Step 4, double check each element to make sure it is balanced, which means it is the same on both sides. And then make sure all coefficients are in the lowest possible ratio. So first example is H2 plus O2 makes H2O. So the T-chart is the table over here that I drew. You want to have reactants and products, and then you need to label the elements that you have involved. So H and O. On the reactant side, you have 2H and you have 2O. And on the product side, you have 2H and you have 1O. So that's not balanced. You need the same number on both sides. Your hydrogen is balanced. Your oxygen is not. So we need to add a coefficient in order for our oxygen to be balanced. Now the only coefficient we can add is a 2 right here. Alright, when we add that 2, it tells us now we have 4 hydrogen and we have 2 oxygen. Oops, this is your product side. Four hydrogen and 2 oxygen. Okay, now that means our hydrogen is not balanced, so we need to go over to the reactant side and try to balance our hydrogen. We need 4, so if we put a 2 in front, 2 times 2 is 4. So if you look, you have 4 hydrogen on the reactant side, 4 hydrogen on the product side, that one's balanced, 2 oxygen on the reactant side, and 2 oxygen on the product side, so that one is balanced. So that would be your balanced equation. 2H2 plus O2 makes or yields 2H2O. Our next example, Na plus Cl2 makes or yields NaCl. So your reactants, you have Na and Cl. Reactant side, you have 1 Na and 2 Cl. Product side, you have 1 Na and 1 Cl. So we know that the Nas are balanced, but the Cls are not. So now we need to change the number of Cls on the product side to make sure that it is balanced. We can put a 2 here as the coefficient. Now that changes our products of Na on the product side to 2, and CLs to 2. So now if you look, our CLs are balanced, but now our NAs are not. You've got 2 on the product side, 1 on the reactant side. So we need to add another coefficient. And now you've got 2 NAs on the reactant side, 2 on the product side, 2 CLs on the reactant side, and 2 CLs on the product side. So that one is balanced. Our last example, NH3 yields N2 plus H2. Again, make your T-chart on the right-hand side. You've got N and H. You have 1 N and 3 H's. And on the product side, you have 2 and 2. All right, so both of these are unbalanced. So one thing that we can do is we can add a 2 on the reactant side as a coefficient. Now that makes you have 2 N's, so change that to a 2. And 2 times 3 is 6 H's. So 2 and 6, and if you look on the product side, you have 2 N's already, and we want to get this H2 to 6. So if you add a 3, 3 times 2 is 6. So by adding those two coefficients, now you have 2 N's on both sides and you have 6 H's on both sides. So that is balanced.